This is the iconic oven-baked cheesy crick snack you've always loved. And this, it's Cricks too. Can you spot the difference? No? That's because there isn't one. Cricks still has the same irresistible crunchy goodness, wrapped in a stylish new packet. Same delicious flavour, brand new look. So snack lovers, get ready to spot Cricks in the snack aisle. Cricks, same iconic taste, new stylish pack. Now in sharing pack size.
We've gone through Italy. We've been to two famous circuits in Imola and Monza. It's time to get to the third in the Providence of Rimini. Welcome to Misano. This is going to be the third round and the final round. The Maserati GT Challenge. We've had a lovely trip through the north and called the north of Italy, and now we've come all the way down to the middle parts of the country, and we now find ourselves in Misano, where usually GT3 racing and MotoGP race happens. But yeah, can't wait to get to the circuit here with these Maserati cars around this circuit. My name is Adam Reed, and I'll be alongside Joseph Black for tonight's production. Really looking forward to getting it started here. I think a lot of challenges around this Misano circuit. It should be an interesting one, to say the least.
Yeah, it's one of those circuits that's lesser known to regular everyday motorsports fans because they tend to focus on the single seaters. Obviously, Misano was visited back in COVID times by Formula One, but before that and ever since, it's been kind of an underrated gem in the racing world.
Absolutely, of course. You'd normally have the likes of Italian F4. That's the usual single seaters that go to the circuit nowadays. But it is mainly that MotoGP that becomes the starlight of the circuit, and also the GT World Challenge that you will see. So Valentino Rossi has been around that circuit plenty of times in the last couple of seasons. We now go into this third and final race with Dean Vella taking 2 wins, and of course now having a new partner alongside him. But first, there you can see the circuits, Imola, Monza, Misano, a brilliant 3-pair. I think only Misano is the last one to add that, but of course we do not have that in the SS Corsa Competizione game. Hopefully maybe at a later date, but overall we had a really lovely journey, and I can't wait to see what Misano has in store for us.
No, absolutely. I mean, Misano's very, it's just that it's a lot of straight line speed. Quite a few of these circuits are. But it's just one that doubles back on itself. You could see there on the little map thing. It's just so much more compact, but it's in such an expansive area that it's just genuinely beautiful.
Yeah, of course, the circuit with plenty of challenges up for our drive today, but wanted to get into more about the drive because, of course, Dean Vella has taken now 2 wins in the last 2 rounds. He's on for a 3-peat because, of course, George Parge did end up getting a penalty, which put him down to 2nd, which means now that Dean Vella, after a crazy race, now finds himself with 2 out of 2 wins. Can he make it a 3rd? Well, of course, I believe he's going to have a new I think he's going to have a new teammate here, because we do have the midweek transfer that George Parge has signed for Project Aversio over the last couple of days, and of course now will be in that beautiful blue and white livery that will really match the Maserati you see there, the background on your screen. So very much so going to be a really interesting livery to see on track. And George Parge really a driver to really keep an eye out for. He was very much one that was gaining pace all throughout the last couple of rounds. And I think he's now going to be in contention for potentially another win if he can get that Maserati MC20 dialed in to the Misano circuit.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just Aversio is one of the biggest teams in terms of online racing that you can get to and you can join. We've actually got, he becomes, I believe, the third Aversio driver in the Maserati GT Challenge. And, well, he's certainly one of the quicker ones. But, yeah, Dean Vella, 2 out of 2 wins. And someone like Page will be desperate to break that streak tonight.
Absolutely. I think another man that will also be desperate to break that streak was Adrian Manduka. He's got so close on the last couple of occasions. Second place at Imola, and then went to Monza, finished third. So second and third for Adrian Manduka, looking to continue that podium streak. Of course, Sheldon Muscat is another driver we should mention, because of course he's not been on the same page as the likes of Dean Vella, but he has got that podium under his belt. From Imola, dropped to 4th in Monza. So the GT2 just hasn't quite been his suit. He just not quite got to grips with the Maserati, and I think that it's just it's more comfortable with the big GT3 BMW that he's also used to, and dominated Assetto Corsa Competizione championships in that car. And I think you're really starting to see the difference between the two vehicles of a GT2 and a GT3 with his with of course his style of driving, of course. But of course, as I say, don't leave him out whatsoever. He's going to be definitely one to try and push his way up there.
Yeah, and I mean, he's still mathematically in the championship. If you just have a look, I'll run you through it very quickly here. Dean Vella sits at the top, 60 points. Adrian Manduka in second. George Page on 40 in third. Manduka, by the way, on 43. And Sheldon Muscat in fourth on 35. It's 30 points for a win. So even though he's not used to the GT2 cars, he's still in mathematical contention for the title in the last round.
Absolutely. I really do think that we're going to be seeing a lot tonight, and I'm really looking forward to getting into this. We're about to put you on to another ad break, but just after this, we will have the 20 minutes of qualifying ready and waiting just after. We'll see you in a moment when we get qualifying underway for the third and final round of the Maserati GT Challenge. Heading into qualifying now as they look to try and put a lap in around this Misano circuit. Just catching on for the first times around at this circuit. There is Cliven Muscat across the line. He's going to be the first driver to start a lap. And then there is George Page, of course, in his brand new Project Aversio livery. And of course, a big shout out to the sponsors you'll see there on the bottom left hand corner. And of course, this Velocity Esports Racing production was you in collaboration with Gaming Malta, and a big thank you to our sponsors Motors Incorporated, Intercomp, Sunshine Snacks, Level Academy and JACAP. A big thank you to all our sponsors that can make this possible. There is George Page continuing down on his way in toward the hairpin here around Misano. You're already starting to see some of the challenges and the bank corners and the challenges that await these drivers around this beautiful Misano circuit.
Yeah, it's a very well banked circuit, and it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's a beautiful circuit as well. Not much runoff, you can see there, just a little green strip before you head into the gravel. Lots of grass around here as well. There's not much room for error, that is, if you do make those errors at all, and I'm sure they will later on as they push flat out. At the moment, it's just the bankers, Manduka topping the standings with a 34.3, and Agius just under a second behind. Those are the two main times set so far. Martinelli double the distance away with Mifsud 2 seconds, Quattramani 3 seconds, and Gat 4.9 seconds down. Up to the line will come George Page in the slipstream of the purpley pink car ahead, and he slots his way into second place with a 34.7. So good time there for George Page, but Adrian Manduka going a little bit faster, 34.2 in the number 93 car, and he's certainly being one to set the pace. This is somebody who can match that pace though. Dean Vella 2 poles out of 2, and he'll be hoping to make it a clean sweep tonight.
Absolutely, he'll be really going for that, trying to put the really trying to solidify that he's on top in this Maserati challenge. I think a lot of preparation has gone in pre-season for the number 54. Really looking to potentially get something going, but Sheldon Muscat showing a couple of signs of confidence here. He goes to the top here with a 34.0, so he may be running a little bit lower fuel compared to Manduka and Page, just to get a sense of what the circuit is like. And of course, you can really see there on the time. They don't have a lot left. They really don't. You've got such little time around this circuit to get used to it, to get accustomed to it. Of course, they would have had the practice for an hour beforehand to dial in, get the setup. But sometimes it's a circuit such as this, you won't be able to kind of get a full, complete setup. No setup will really be complete, and I'm sure we'll be able to take you around the circuit for potentially a hot lap or something, just to show the characteristics of Misano. Many little intricate bits about such a double apexes, late braking hairpins as well. There's so many different kind of styles about this circuit. So if we stick with one driver in just a moment, I'm sure we'll take you on a flying lap of the circuit. I hope so. As looks like Adrian Manduka has gone back to the pits, but he's on top of the standings now with a 34.0. So really digging deep already in these early stages.
Yes, I mean, they're pushing hard in these early stages, and Manduka and Muscat separated by 0.02 of a second at the top of the standings. So Muscat demonstrating that pace that, as you mentioned, he shows in GT3 cars, and his outside shot at a championship challenge will be on tonight if he demonstrates that sort of pace. And then there's issues for runners ahead, obviously Dean Vella being quite a big one, and he slots his way into fourth place, a second off Adrian Manduka. So maybe just taking a little bit more time to pick up the rub of the green.
Absolutely, you're just seeing here James Smith, who I think we're going on an onboard hot lap of. Of course, you just see all there the double right-hander there of turns 4 and 5 in towards Curva del Rio. Of course, that first chicane also very tricky. You're heading down a very long straight, topping at about 170 miles an hour. Then he goes into a very early apex, clips it right there, and it just carries all the speed through the next corner. Now he has to try and carry a lot of speed here. It's a little bit of a right-hander for then having to slam on the brakes. You've really got to try and straighten up the steering wheel to get the maximum braking power. Then you get to turn it into a tramonto. Now you're powering all the way down. You've got a triple right-hander, the three curves here. Here's the first one, it's completely flat. Now you've got to be starting to think about the second one. You can go completely flat here as well. Now you have to slam on the brakes, get the car turned, and it's so difficult around here. So the drivers that absolutely get to do it and spot on as well. It is brilliant to watch. Now in towards Curva del Cado, where you just see they're just dipping their wheels in towards the inside, where it is a little bit bang. They kind of gain a little bit of time. Now they're flying in toward the final corner of Misano. Yes, the circuit name has also a final corner named after it. And up towards the line, James Smith over the timing beam. He will cross the line. He will go 7th. I don't think that was a big improvement though, but look behind him. Dean Vella here on a lap here, and he crosses the line, goes 3rd. Improved that time by a tad, but still not enough to put him on the front row of the grid.
Yeah, he's found 6/10 there, so a strong improvement, and he'll be hoping that there's another 6/10 coming so he can be the pace setter as he has been so far in this short little mini season that we've got going on, as that's Quattromani trying to go into the pits. And this is Cliven Muscat, the namesake of Sheldon Muscat. He'll be hoping to try to be up there with his namesake towards the end of this session. George Page, he's been displaced off of the podium provisionally with 10 minutes left on the clock. What can he do as he's stuck maybe in a little bit of traffic? And so this lap will not be a great one, although he's going to get the slipstream, so that will give him an advantage. They look like they're racing here around Misano. There we go. He gets out the way, whoever that was. And yeah, goes George Page. He will be coming round the final couple of corners. It's a sort of mini segment where you don't brake for the first one, but you certainly do for the second one to get the turn in and then out of the final corner. Where can George Page put himself? Will this even be an improvement on his 34.7? He'll come up to the line, and no, it won't be. No, he won't. Sorry, that's a sector time. Sorry.
Yeah, that was indeed a sector time. Ooh, we've got a car off to the right-hand side there. That's the number 3 of Jamie Gatt, I believe. So he is currently stranded on the right-hand side there, just in towards Curva del, just in towards the hairpin of Curva del Cado. So that is going to be a little bit of frustration for him. Meanwhile, it was George Page to the line here. He's improved by, actually no improvement there. In fact, he's off by 0.3 of a second. So unfortunately, George Page just won't be able to improve this time around. I think he's going to put a new set of boots on the car when he gets into the pit lane. Adrian Manduca still leading Sheldon Muscat 0.02 of a second between the two. This could be a real fight back for Sheldon Muscat. He's not been one of the best qualifiers in the field, but sure, Muscat can do something in the race. He's faced Adrian Manduca plenty of times. Old friends, old rivals on the track as well, and they've taken a little bit of door slams to the side of each other around this very circuit in the Malta GT Cup a few months ago. But now we see there Manduca getting a little bit unsettled on the outside curb. They're trying to get the car slowed down, but he's going to keep it on the road surface for now. I wonder if this could be an improvement. His 134.0 could dip into the 33s. I think that's what Manduca has to be aiming if he wants to officially put onto pole position. He's over the timing beam, and unfortunately he is in fact 0.8 off that time around.
Yeah, Adrian Manduca not finding that time he would have wanted to, and I mean, Dean Vella's getting closer. He was 500 slower on that last lap than Manduca's best time. So with competitors closing in, then Adrian Manduca will have to do something. Sheldon Muscat 3,000s off as well. He is somebody not to forget about, as well as George Page. Those four have really been the pace setters, and that is exactly why those four are still the ones that are mathematically in contention with taking home the Maserati GT Challenge title. But for the moment, it is Manduca who sits atop the pack. Agius, in a world of his own, really, 400 or 4,000ths even behind Page, but 7 thousandths ahead of Mifsud in 6th. He's just he'll be hoping to go forward. Another Reversio driver, one of the 3 that I believe we've got on the grid this evening, which is the biggest grid I think we've had across the 3 races. So it's good to see the participation improve across the line. Agius will actually come, because I know where the straight is, and he improves by 0.6 of a second. So that's a very, very strong lap for Denzel Agius, and he puts in a 34.6 to go up to 4th place.
It's a really big lap there for Denzel Agius. He hasn't had the best result so far in this season. Of course, I believe took a 5th place Imola, and then of course couldn't attend the second round of the championship in Monza, so he finds himself now trying to just keep himself on the pace. Chris Gatt in the number 2 Maserati MC20, trying to now power toward the line using all the exit he possibly can. I think there's a little bit more on the table, but yeah, Gatt down there in 12th place. No improvement this time around. He's made a mistake somewhere, in fact. That was a 140. That would have put him at 6/10 off the time there, so not ideal. 6 seconds off the time. Yeah, you're not really used to saying second this time around. Welcome back, Gabriel Quattromani in the 444 Maserati. He is taking his way around, I believe that's Curva del Rio, as he the double right-hander. Then he gets to swiftly full power on toward the main straight here. I think there's also a yellow flag out there. Not entirely sure who that is for. Quattromani down in toward the hairpin here, trying to swing it round, gets a little bit of momentum as he powers it out the corner. I think Quattromani is in a really good spot here. The driver continues to clock down the laps. This is where you want to be in the pit lane here, trying to maybe sort out a last set of tyres and maybe a last couple of runs. I think you maybe wanted to start your out laps as well around about now. So it'll be really interesting to see where the drivers are at this moment in time. Will they be able to get some great laps in? I think that was Chris Gatt just stopped there, and in fact he has gone back to the pits. Yes, in a set of Corsa Competizione you can you can just stop and then return to the pit lane. It's not like F1 where you just have to go around to the pit lane and then risk not being able to get your last run in. You can do that in iRacing and a set of Corsa Competizione as well, so it is an option for drivers, and a lot of the time, 90% of the time, they do take it.
By the way, don't know if you've noticed, the top 3 are separated by 0.005 of a second. So this has the potential to be one of the closest finishes to a qualifying session that we've possibly ever seen. And you think about it, the likes of Agius and Page, they've got the pace this evening to catch up to the 34.0s, which Manduka, Muscat and Vela sit in. And, well, hey, you never know. We could be seeing identical times, fingers crossed. Quattromani Adrian is here around in the 666 car, and he's gone round in the 666 car. Not being his day at the moment, because he is 8 seconds off of Adrian Manduka's time at the top, and he's just going to try to bed himself into the session. I think if you haven't got a very good qualifying time with 3 minutes left on the clock, I think it just becomes more about trying to prepare yourself for the race. And I mean, 2.3 seconds is quite a large margin to pick up. And the green actually looks quite good on that Maserati. He'll be looking to try to close that gap between himself and Vela Dingley ahead of him. This is Sheldon Muscat, one of our pole contenders, and just weaving through traffic at the moment. That was Chris Gatt getting out of the way, and now he has George Page ahead of him to give him slipstream / take time away through the corners. He'll be having a little bit of an unstable time through there with just sitting behind George Page. He'll obviously know as well that his fastest time is faster than the newer Versio driver at the moment. So it's just something to keep an eye on, and it's just something for Muscat maybe not to be nervous about, but just to be a little bit on edge about.
Absolutely, he will be aware of what George Page is doing at this moment in time. And of course, Page wants to be improving as well, but it doesn't look like. I think Page is on a starter lap here. He's currently on his out lap, so you can see moving across, and looks like Sheldon Muscat has made a mistake here, so he's gonna have to go again here. A little bit of trembling for Sheldon Muscat. He's usually good in qualifying, but he just has to try and get the last couple of tenths out if he wants to do something here. There goes Adrian Manduka to start his final lap, and we start to really get those spicy moments. The kettle is starting to boil here, and hopefully we'll see those gaps potentially increase, or maybe even a chain of the standings.
Yeah, I mean, 1 minute 13 left on the clock now. There's enough time for one timed lap, and we've got quite a few drivers actually sitting in the pits, not necessarily happy with their laps, but with not enough time to get back round. That being Muscat, Agius, Mifsud, Smith, Martinelli, Quattromani, and David Vella Dingley. So that means that Muscat, Vella, Page, the other Muscats, both the Gats, and Quattromani, they are still on the circuit and they are still able to set laps. This will likely be everybody's last set lap time, as Adrian Manduka, the lead car, is only just heading into Sector 3 now. Maybe he'll get another opportunity, but I don't think any of the others will. Manduka sitting at the top with a 34.0 at the moment. Can he eke out some time anywhere in order to climb up? He's got a difficult section here where it's just about breaking points and trying not to lock up. Manduka has just moved past it with ease. He's got one more corner to go. Where can the Aversio man put his car? He's going to come across the line. The target time is a 34.080. And Adrian Manduka goes into the 33s, 133.925. He pulls out a 10th on the rest of the field, and that may well be our pole time. This is Dean Vella, though, and you know what he's capable of. Many pole positions. Can he snatch another one away from the grasp of Adrian Manduka? No, he can't. He can't improve. It's a 34.1. And so the pole position man for this round is going to be Adrian Manduka.
Brilliant time there from Adrian Manduka to just snatch in a 33.9. That was an unbelievable lap time, and really excited to see how this is going to go. I think some really awesome racing is going to be ahead of us as well, so really be able to look forward to that one. Of course, Sheldon Muscat and Adrian Manduka, the age-old rivals on the front row of the grid. And then Dean Vella, who's been oh so quick over those last two rounds, of course, did in fact have to go from, I think it was about 5th or 7th up to 2nd place on the road, then find himself into the lead due to a penalty. But I really don't count out Dean Vella. I think George Page was also struggling in that qualifying session. But we now have the race to get to, and before we go into the race, a big thank you once again to this collaboration with Malta Gaming. A big thank you to Motors Incorporated, Intercomp, Sunshine Snacks, Level Academy, and JACAP. We will see you on the other side of this ad break. We wait for the race, the final round of the Maserati GT Challenge.
This is the iconic oven-baked cheesy crick snack you've always loved. And this, it's Cricks too. Can you spot the difference? No? That's because there isn't one. Cricks still has the same irresistible crunchy goodness, wrapped in a stylish new packet. Same delicious flavor, brand new look. So snack lovers, get ready to spot Cricks in the snack aisle. Cricks, same iconic taste, new stylish pack. Now in sharing pack size.
Here we are into the final race, the final 45 minutes before we see the GT2 car being packed away for another Assetto Corsa Competizione competition in the future. My name is Adam Reed. I'm alongside Joseph Black. We're going to be covering this race of round 3 in the final round of the Maserati GT Challenge. We're around here, the 16 cornered Misano circuit, and Adrian Manduca is on pole position for this race. It was a phenomenal pole lap time right at the very end to grab a 33.9 alongside Sheldon Muscat. This is not going to be far from over.
Yeah, it's going to be a good battle between the top few. Well, I mean, you think about it. Manduca, Muscat and Vela have shown pace across the 3 races, but especially this weekend they have been quicker than the rest. They've got Agius and Page there. Agius had the pace mid-session qualifying, and Page has obviously had the pace coming across the line to take the on-track victory last week. So we should be in for a very, very high-quality affair.
Absolutely should, and I think there's still a lot up for debate here. Of course, there's still a championship to win. Vela currently leads that by a solid amount. Of course, with those 2 race wins, he is currently sitting on 60 points and does lead that championship by 17 points. It would take a lot for Adrian Manduca to take it, but I think if he does get a win, there will be some promising signs to try and take that victory. But Vela, with those 2 wins, I think it's going to be a very, very difficult task. We head toward the line to start this 45-minute race.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to look past Dean Vela for the championship, but in the same breath, it's hard to look past Adrian Manduca for this individual race. And if Vela has incidents like he did last week, we could be seeing Manduca walk away with it. He's only 17 points behind, but he will be the one to lead us away here as the lights are on. The drivers are ready, and we are heading down the straight to start our 45-minute chase around Misano. And Manduka will lead us away now. It's action here in Misano. Manduka gets a great start. Muscat won't be able to hold on to the outside line, but Vela will be able to hold on to the inside line. It's side by side between the two. And it's further back, Agius and Paj having a scrap as well. But through all of that, it's Adrian Manduka who comes out in the lead of this one early on. And he's looking even to try to gap the field. There was a tiny bit of gap there that appears to be being closed in. But as we come across the first sector time, it is Manduka to Muscat to Vela to Paj and then to Agius behind.
Really good stuff there from Adrian Manduka. Really was able to keep his mind firmly on what he needs to do, defend that lead into the first couple of corners. You see there the two sim sport drivers of Muscat and Vela really starting to charge up toward behind Manduka. There, Daryl Martinelli in the number one. Maserati, he being time bombed there, but I think that's the other Muscat there, Cliven. No, I think he's tried to go through on that one. I believe that might have been successful overtake there, but they power their way through on towards the right hand as the curva, and then in towards the curva de Caro, right on toward the hairpin where Adrian Manduka is charging onto and arriving now. We can really see here Daryl Martinelli, but looking back here, that wide moment there for Adrian Manduka as Muscat now starts to climb onto the ring and clamber all over the back end of that number 93. Really looking to see there's an open gap in these early stages, and I think for Muscat the confidence will be in making that move on a driver so strong as Adrian Manduka has been over the course of the season. In towards the first couple of corners they go. Dean Vela just sitting back there analysing this whole scenario because he might want to take advantage of it in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, and he's almost opened up a gap to George Page behind of an entire second. It looks as though it's been closed in that last sector, but Denzel Agius behind in 5th place. It should be an even bigger gap. Yeah, George Page 0.95 seconds behind, and then Agius a further 1.2. So it's definitely the top 3 holding the pace over the rest at the moment. And Manduka holding the pace over the other 2. Muscat pushing him close though, getting very, very close, especially in that first sector. So we could be seeing these two battle within the next couple of laps. We are heading now through to Sector 2. This was almost an opportunity for Sheldon Muscat, but instead he chooses to sit behind. He's going to try to force his way through rather than try to create a gap where there isn't one. He's going to try to force a mistake, and this could be the opportunity. Down the inside looks Muscat again, trying to force a mistake, and he's found one. Manduka runs wide, through goes Muscat into the lead of the race.
Oh, it's not over yet here, but Manduka is going to be on that outside line. He's going to force the tighter line, and around the outside goes Manduka. Will he be able to hold it in towards the final corner here at Misano? He's going to hold back and switch back here, but Muscat over the line will take and lead a lap here. That's a brilliant stuff there. Really well battled. Good gentleman racing between the two of them, and Muscat is really going to have to now start going on the charge here. George Page is taking the fastest lap now because of all the battling that has happened amongst the top 3, and now he's starting to get involved. This is the closest we've seen these guys all season along. Yes, it may have been only 3 rounds, but unbelievable stuff there. You can just see all 4 of them right in your front picture there. Unbelievable stuff. Now who's going to be the first car to make that next chess piece move? Manduka may look to go down the inside. Could Dean Vela also get involved? And hell, the Intercomp VMD Sim Sport drivers, it is properly Intercomp VMD versus Project Diversio 2-2 in terms of the drivers that are going to be involved in this battle, and this is very much going to really be spiced up.
It's definitely going to be spiced up, the top 4, with just almost identical pace in these first few spars. In this one, and Agius 1.6 seconds off. We should be seeing a thriller to end off the season, and Dean Vela looking for a move on the man that's pushed him all the way through this season. Adrian Manduka first versus second in the championship, battling for second and third here in Misano, and Dean Vela is going to be very close to Adrian Manduka as they head around the final corner, and he's going to try to shape up a move into the first one. Muscat will continue to lead on to the third lap of this Grand Prix. Manduka sitting 3/10 back, and Dean Vella now half a second back. He's not had a great final sector, and the pressure is now on for Dean Vella to try to catch back up. He's got George Page to keep him honest, but at the moment it is Intercomp, Eversio, Intercomp, and then Eversio again.
Absolutely, they're really keeping it close here, really tight knit as well. This pack is going to be very much one to keep an eye out for the majority of this race. They head their way down in toward the Kirkida. Head their way through. You see there the Misano circuit. They're just a couple of miles away from the beach. So after this, the drivers can then go and just have a little bit of relaxation on the beaches along the Adriatico. But yeah, you see Dean Vella really starting to put the nose in on Adrian Manduka. He found his rhythm, I think, after 5 minutes. Pit window has now opened as well, so there'll be a mandatory stop to be made by each of these drivers, and it will be really important on how much fuel you take, how if you go onto fresh tire, which I think everyone should be doing. Bouncing over that curb there was Adrian Manduka, just trying to cut as much as he possibly can to latch onto the back of Sheldon Muscat. But I don't blame if anyone, maybe if you're a Dean Vella or a George Page, you may want to try and potentially go for an undercut. I won't be surprised if Manduka does it as well, but then that will cause a domino effect as well. I think if there's one driver in this pack that wants to be trying an undercut here, it's George Page with 3 cars in front of him. If he manages to keep this pace up, get an undercut and make it successful, he could be potentially in with the same opportunity that was gifted in Monza.
Yeah, it could be the chance for George Page to take another on-track victory home, and hopefully he'll be able to hold on to this one, unlike in Monza. But yeah, at the moment, George Page just sitting behind. He's not going to go for any aggressive moves at the moment, with quite a lot of the time left on the clock. Only 7 minutes gone so far in this one, and Sheldon Muscat at the moment holding the pace over the rest of the field. Vella and Page looking very much like they have the pace, but they are just sitting behind due to tactical decisions, and they are just waiting for a mistake from Manduka or Muscat to head through. We did see a mistake earlier on from Adrian Muscat, so we know that it is possible. There are chinks in that Eversio armour, and well, now he's 7/10 off of Sheldon Muscat, so it could be a more urgent pressing move for one of Vella or Page if the gap continues to grow. At the moment, Manduka is still sitting behind, but there's a noticeable difference between the gap between Muscat and Manduka, and the gap between Vella and Manduka. It's not large for the moment. It's nothing to be concerned about for now, but within the next couple of laps, if it keeps going the way that it did in that last sector, they could be in trouble. Across the final corner and across the line, Manduka was actually a 10th faster, so it might actually make sense for Vella and Page just to be sitting behind to make those moves, maybe with 20 minutes left on the clock, or maybe try to gain the advantage strategically.
Absolutely, there you can see there Manduka trying to go late on the brakes. I think he's gone a bit too wide, in fact, and invited the door. The door is now open with Dean Vella now sitting on that outside line. They'll go side by side into the left-hander. Off the track, in fact, goes Dean Vella. They carry their way now on toward the hairpin, and look at that, Muscat will be breathing a sigh of relief. Up the inside, there goes Dean Vella. They've made contact. He's going to open the door. In fact, he's going to slam it open, and through goes George Page. Page now opens his way up to third. Manduka is going to be sitting and thinking, what's going on here? Page now slides it up the inside. Amazing move there from this number 7 car. And the fishtails get happy. Denzel Andrews will be looking up at that, thinking, what has gone on there? Why have I gone from 2 seconds back to now within half a second of these guys? What has gone on? And I really do think that now Sheldon Muscat can breathe a sigh of relief, and to think that he was not being constantly pressured. You can see that that gap now opening up to 2 seconds, but George Page is now going to start this fight very early on and see if he can latch on to Sheldon Muscat. He's going to require a lot of pace, a lot of pushing, and really use the tyres up to try and get toward the rear of Sheldon Muscat. I think also Denzel Adjin will be using this as an opportunity to try and then now latch onto this kind of a half lead pack here, because they're pretty much the first pack in this on this train of cars off the race leader. So if he can latch the likes of Page, Vela, Manduka, and it does seem that Adji says, oh, actually scratch that move there. Oh, big bash to the side of Manduka, and that has now sent Dean Vela off into Narnia. And I think now Denzel Adjius is just trying to latch onto this and saying, hey, I might as well drag along with these guys, see what I can get out of my race. This is now really started to add a little bit of seasoning to this race and really boiling up to be a brilliant final race in this championship decider amongst 4 different drivers, where the championship leader now currently sits down in 4th place and not on the podium. The driver that's won the last 2 races, in fact.
Yes, I mean, he's looked so dominant so far, but at the moment, Muscat is the man who dominates in Misano, and Dean Vela has been left chasing Adrian Manduka with an aggressive move to try to get past him. It was successful, and now it's the turn of Agius to try to close the gap on Vela. He was able to get back into a good range because of the scrapping on the last lap, and now is a great opportunity for him to try to strike. Even though he might not have the raw pace of the top few, he'll be able to pull through with the slipstream, and he'll be able to just demonstrate what he can do in this final round. He's not had the most dramatic championship, it's fair to say, but he will have an opportunity to maybe push for a podium. Dean Vela's actually losing more time to the top group. He's almost 1 second behind Adrian Manduka at the moment, but this is Samuel Mifsud. He is 5 whole seconds behind the top group, so unless something dramatic goes wrong for one of the top 5, it looks as though this is the battle for P6. By the way, Sheldon Muscat now 3.2 seconds ahead of George Page, and Manduka 1.1 seconds ahead of Vela, so it looks as though Muscat has the pace over Page and Manduka, who've got the pace over Vela and Agius. This is Gabriel Quattromani looking to go for a move maybe on Gat. He's not quite close enough, and he will just stay behind, but he is closing. Battles are brewing here in Misano, and we could be seeing an even more exciting race than the one we've already had.
Absolutely, they're really starting to brew up an absolute storm in this one. Adrian Manduka starting to gain on his brand new Project Divertio teammate George Page here as he looks down in towards the Curva del Caro, the hairpin here, trying to use as much as he possibly can. Really starting to get in the mirrors there of George Page, and I just wonder if that number 7 is now going to start thinking about, well, he's trying to gain there on Sheldon Muscat, but just not quite got the same pace, and I think he may hope that he just doesn't quite crack under pressure, because we know how experienced Adrian Manduka is in one of these GT cars. May not be specifically the GT2s, but he's got a lot of experience with the Assetto Corsa Competizione game, and he's very much refurbished his skills amongst everyone on this grid. Some have not quite managed to do so, some are still getting relatively new to the game and still trying to get up to speed here, so plenty of differences in skill. But now we see Manduka with a big old toe heading down in toward the hairpin. I wonder if Page will go very defensive here. No, he stays right toward the curb side, but I think Manduka's got to just try and push this here. Does he have more pace than George Page? We don't really know, because of course that number 7 is still ahead of the 93, and that will continue for the remainder of this lap, unless we have a bit of a why moment there for George Page and opens the door and widens the eyes of Manduka.
Yes, I mean, there have been a couple of mistakes drawn out early on in this one from Page there, and one from Manduka earlier on that actually allowed moves to be made in the first place. And there's another moment there. Where is George Page going? He's trying to go back to Monza, and through goes Manduka. He's up into 2nd place, and Page almost has to do it all over again. We will watch a replay here of what's happened to George Page, and it just looks as though he's just He's just tried to get on the traction, tried to get on the accelerator a little bit too much on the exit, and he drops from second to fourth. He's done an impressive job, to be fair, to stay within range of Dean Vella, and he's only just 3/10 behind with a whole lot more to fight for. But Adrian Manduka now heads up this battle, which is just losing second by second to Sheldon Muscat right out in the lead.
That mistake is going to be very costly. I don't know if it was acceleration. I think it was more that he kind of lost the car under corner, because of course you're going from a flat corner to a right-hander where you've got to have a little bit of momentum going. I think the car just kind of snapped on him through that corner, and that's where he just managed to collect it up, albeit had to go off track here. So he now becomes he now goes from the hunted to the hunter. Going to be Manduka to see if he can potentially gain right back on this battle, but Muscat will be looking behind and thinking, how have I gained 4 seconds on these guys? There's clearly battling going on, but he's got a clear vision in front of him. The next guy he's got to pass is going to be Adrian Quattramani, who's about 10 seconds ahead of him, and a lapped car. So Quattramani will be doing the classical back marker thing of just letting Muscat get out, let Muscat through, not getting in the way of the race leader. He should, despite not having to oblige to blue flag rules. Of course, that's the thing in GT racing. If you see a blue flag, there's a faster car behind you. You don't have to get out of the way, but just make sure that you are aware. So hopefully that will be as easy as pie for Sheldon Muscat, but he's really starting to now try and just maintain the gap. He doesn't have to extend it. He doesn't have to let it start decreasing at a rapid rate. He just needs to keep it consistent, keep the pace going as well. Just see if he can keep that stabilized gap until the pit stops, then see if he can maybe extend that out to a little bit more.
Yes, I mean, the strategy will be oh so crucial today for Manduka, Vella and Page, especially, who are trying to gain back up to Sheldon Muscat, who's lost 4/10 in that previous lap. And so the number 14 might just be trying to manage his way to the end. We saw, we've seen this one before, where they lift off. It possibly gives an opportunity to the person behind, and then they blast off into the distance. And they were just fuel saving all along. Sheldon Muscat could be doing exactly the same thing, as Manduka will come across actually 2/10 behind. So maybe a genuine mistake from Muscat we have not seen, but this is James Smith, and he's coming under pressure. Oh no, this is Mifsud, and he's coming under pressure from James Smith, sorry, is what I meant to say, and he's only 5/10 behind. This is the battle for P6 at the moment, and it appears to be, if neither of these make a mistake and they go on the regulation strategy, this will be the battle for P6 for the rest of this race, as that is somebody who's gone off. I think that might have been Adrian Quattramani, who's really not had the race that he would have wanted to have. And he's just sitting off to the side now as this battle continues on to the main straight. James Smith trying to close into David Martinelli. No, Mifsud. I tried to say the name and I got it wrong twice, but this is Smith trying to close into Mifsud, but just not being able to get those inroads quite yet.
Absolutely, he's still just trying to push on here. Good opportunity for James Smith. He's been really consistent all throughout the Maserati GT Challenge. He's a strong midfield runner, but he's still hoping to potentially get any more final points that are going to be on offer. Any pluses he can get to his name at the end of the race, that would be absolutely extraordinary. Chris Gatt there heading in towards the first corner. He's still battling with Gabriel Quattramani, and they've overtaken each other. They've had a switch of positions since the last time we have last spoken about this battle. So the 444 will now go ahead of the number 2 car. So Chris Gatt, of course, not one of the fastest drivers in the field, but he's starting to make gains every now and again. And of course, it's very difficult to change from a GT3 car to a GT2. But someone who is making a little bit of inroads, Adrian Manduka, 3.7 seconds now behind Sheldon Muscat. Of course, carrying Dean Vella along with him, and George Parr's now starting to fall a little bit off the pace, down in 4th place. I don't think the tyres are quite there for the number 7, who was once sitting in 2nd place, but unfortunately a mistake and potentially tyres starting to go off. That's now found him 2.5 seconds now, and having to look behind with Denzel Adjis now starting to clamber all over the rear end of him.
Yes, I mean, the pressure is continuing for pretty much everybody within what would be in single-seaters DRS range, quote unquote. But it's a good marker, that 1 second between two different drivers, and these are two drivers that have less than that 1 second. It's Manduka and Vela. Vela will be sitting in that slipstream behind Manduka at the moment, and well, he'll just try to gain on him. He's had a pretty patient race, all things considered so far, has Dean Vela, and he's just been waiting for mistakes to happen, and they have happened. Paj dropping off, as well as Agius just not quite having the pace to keep up with them. You can see them in the background. That is a 3-second gap right there. But Vela, I don't know if he's just taking the strategy because he doesn't feel as though he's quick enough, or whether he just feels as though this is the right way to go about it. But he's just waiting for Manduka to make mistakes. We've seen some earlier on, and that's just... It's just a waiting game from now on. This is the battle for P4 and P5. Denzel Agius has been pretty impressive so far today, considering the fact that he didn't quite have the pace in qualifying. It looked as though he might have done halfway through the session, and then other drivers found extra tenths, but mistakes have drawn him back into the battle for the top 4, and the number 89 car could be looking to get his way past George Page, who was one of the main contenders for this race. He'll be looking to get his way past for 4th place, as we're almost now at the halfway point of this race.
Absolutely, they're really starting to build on a little bit more over time, and of course we now have had about 21 minutes left in this race, so we do hit around about 22 minutes. Just know that will be about halfway into this race. There goes Denzel Agius, just continuing to just go behind George Page. Of course, he's just trying to still get used to the circuit, seeing if he can just find any extra tenths somewhere. He's usually really good in that third and final and in the first sector on a lap, but then he really struggles in the second. So I think he's just trying to also get a little bit of learnings from George Page in front of him here. Nobody has gone in for their mandatory stop. In fact, there goes Adrian Quattromani down in P40. I think that he's had such a thorough race, he's decided to put a new set of boots onto the car, but everyone else, mainly the top runners, have not reacted. And in comes Sheldon Muscat just as I start talking about it. The mandatory stops have to be made. Both Muscat and Dean Vela are in. Two of the top runners here, the race leader and the championship leader, George Page, will also continue with Dean Vela as well. So he will look to potentially just try and get away from Denzel Agius here. So Manduka will now take the race lead here, the effective race lead around about this halfway point. And Duke will now have to go all guns blazing here, see if he can potentially do a lap or two and then gain on Muscat, because of course this stop is going to be very crucial. I wonder who's going to be taking more fuel, of course more time in that stop to try and get everything all updated, and of course new tyres will be going on the car as well. So really crucial times in this race, and one that will really change the face of the race and potentially could see a whole new podium kind of order as well. They now exit the pit lane. The mandatory stops have been completed, and we'll get to see the rough lineouts of what that standing is going to look like once everyone has made that mandatory stop. Muscat, Manduka, my apologies, are now got a bit of traffic in front of him. I think that's Vela Dingley in the number 16. Just in front of him, it was the number 16, as he now dives into the pit lane here. So he's seen what Muscat has done and decided to react to it.
Yeah, the strategies are coming into play now. Adrian Manduka reacting, and we will see where he will come out. Obviously, he will have to put less fuel in the car, so he will be better as they come out of the pits, as we get pretty much everybody else coming into the pits now for their mandatory stop. And we will see where the likes of Manduka stack up against the likes of this man, Dean Vella, as they come out of the pits. Dean Vella currently just heading into sector 3 now. So the race is on. He needs to push as hard as he possibly can. As that is a switch back to Adrian Manduka still in the pit lane, as that is Dean Vella coming through the last couple of corners. This is going to be a close one as they come now round the final corner. Manduka's still sitting there, and well, it wasn't the final corner, it was the final braking, so my apologies. Manduka now comes out of the pits, and Dean Vella now comes down the main straight. It's going to be close, but I think this could be it for Adrian Manduka. That is Muscat as well, coming out of the pits with a lot of range to everybody else. No, I stand corrected. Dean Vella has taken that P2 away from Adrian Manduka, so the undercut seemingly at the moment to work.
Absolutely, and I think that's also because it was such a painfully long pit lane. I think maybe a little bit more longer than no, it should be shorter than Imola. My apology on that one, but yeah, you can now see the painful route these guys are having to take. 50 kilometers an hour. Manduka will have to really now go on the charge and see if he can potentially hunt down Dean Vella. But look at that gap for Sheldon Muscat, 5.7 seconds. And in a GT race, 5.7 seconds must feel like absolute luxury in a 45-minute race.
Yeah, I mean, it is. At the end of the day, it's just a huge margin that he can just sit on for the rest of this race. Fuel manage, tyre manage, whatever he needs to do in order to seal this victory. But for the number 14, this is a performance that he would have wanted to happen earlier in this trifecta of races.
Absolutely, he would have wanted to be on the pace and really be able to feel this Maserati MC20 out a little bit more. So overall, I think some of these guys are really doing their best here. Jamie Gatt and Vella Dingley, the only ones not to make their mandatory stop, and also we've got Ivan Muscat, who's had to make a drive-through penalty to the 444 ahead of the 555, ahead of the 666. Brilliant in that one. That's really great to see, to be honest. Love that little bit of symmetry heading downwards. But you see there, George Page currently on your screen, still pushing away in 5th place here. He'll be looking to catch Denzel Agius if possible, but Agius is really starting to try and make his way on toward the podium. You just got to hope that Dean Vella and Manduka are able to battle amongst each other, and then they'll be able to really make something happen on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's now just going to be a race of attrition. Keep the mistakes minimal, and positions will be sealed for the likes of Muscat, Vella, and Manduka sitting on the podium. Manduka with the smallest gap of the lot, 2.1 back to Agius, but these pit stops have actually really split the drivers up. It's a fascinating sight to see, as well, nobody is within even 3 seconds of, well, there is one car within 3 seconds of another, and that is Agius on Manduka. Manduka, who's trying to close into Vella, he will be slightly fresher in all facets as they come now down the main straight, and he'll try and make those minimal gains last, and just he'll try and extract every single bit of performance out of the car. He's pulling up to the back of Adrian Quattromani to lap him, and so he'll get that slipstream as well to try to gain that time a little bit more. This is Sheldon Muscat, 5.9 seconds ahead of second place, and what a race he's run so far.
Absolutely, it's been a really well-run race here for for Sheldon Muscat. He did exactly what he needed to do in the early stages and made that move on Adrian Manduka, which was a little bit naughty at the time, but it was a great race there. Oh, Jamie Gatt's having a big old bounce across the grass there, and he's the final driver that is going to enter the pit lane and make his mandatory stop. He should be falling down past the other Gat of Chris here. Maybe even Gabriel Quattromani as well. Looks like Daniel Vella Dingley is also in the pit lane. But this is the battle we're going to keep an eye out for here, because Muscat still leads from Vella, who leads from Manduka. Vella just taking that down slightly by a tenth in that first sector. 5.8 is the gap here, but they've really started to space out now when the pit stops happen. I really think that it is smooth sailing for Muscat. You just need to keep it on the road here. Dean Vella will be pushing the absolute living daylights out of that Maserati to try and go 3 for 3, but I think maybe this could be his, well, one and only bogey circuit of Misano, where he hasn't made it a 3 out of 3 in pole positions, and at this moment in time will not make it a 3 out of 3 in terms of race wins. He'll have to give that up to Sheldon Muscat in the win and Adrian Manduka on the pole positions if this continues at this current rate.
Yeah, I mean, Dean Vella at the moment, he's demonstrated that he doesn't really have that pace around Misano that he did in Monza and in Imola, if you remember that, almost a month ago now. But Dean Vella now 5.5 seconds behind Muscat. He's going to try and extract everything out of his car to try to catch up, and also tried to pull away from Adrian Manduka. Don't forget about him, 3.6 seconds behind Dean Vella. All three of the top three, the ones that showed pace in qualifying, that showed pace at the start of the race, they've come under slight threats from Agius and Page, but it's the top three who have had the pace throughout the weekend that just they've pulled away. The class of the field has pulled away and have become the class of their own, as well. Muscat has made his position sealed at the top of the standings, and I think everyone now is just waiting on mistakes from these drivers further up, well, including the likes of Muscat and Manduka, who would quite like Dean Vella to bin it here for the championship purposes.
Absolutely. Well, I think that Dean Vella will be happy with his race so far. He, of course, may not be he may not have the entire pace around Misano. Of course, it's such a difficult circuit to get right. You see that first chicane again, that's something that really challenges the drivers. Of course, the lines can be taken very different. Of course, such varying lines around here. You can take a tight road through turn 3. Of course, that sweeper in towards this double right-hander. You can take a wide line. Kind of depends on your battle or your current session as well. Gabriel Quattromani now again battling with Chris Gatt. They just can't seem to get away from each other. It's like it's like a teammate you just cannot seem to avoid in the paddock. You'll just bump into them every single time. And once again, Chris Gatt and Gabriel Quattromani will go at it ding dong. What about this? Is it round 4 between the two drivers, maybe even round 5? Yeah, I probably underestimated it, in fact. Quattromani will have to try and get past Chris Gatt, and again this time around, if he wants to secure a P9 spot this battle alone. It's been really a great act for this race, even though if it is the lower positions, they've been really tantalizingly close and really going at it for every single position there. Chris Gatt is quite the way back from the next car ahead, which is going to be Daryl Martinelli. In fact, Martinelli is just going through the first hairpin as well. We now look back here to our 93 of Adrian Manduka, still trying to push toward the rear of Dean Vella, but Vella is also making inroads on Muscat. But at this moment in time, with 12 minutes left on the clock, there will be no damage done to that gap.
Yeah, 2/3 through this race now, and it appears to have stabilised right up the top. And I think it might be, barring any mistakes, staying exactly like this to the flag. We've got 11 minutes and 45 seconds to go on the clock, and Dean Vella's got 5.2 seconds to gain on Muscat. He is actually gaining, but not at the rate that he would have wanted to. And I'm sure when the others... when the others are forced to fuel save, he will be joining them, and so that gap will not be coming down as much as he would like, and so he might have to settle for P2. Settling for P2 though is not a terrible thing. I mean, we talk about it as if we talk about it as if he's fallen off and he's just scraping into the points. He's sitting in P2, and I think that just demonstrates how much of a dominant season he has had.
Absolutely, of course. It's not quite the trifecta of Italian wins that he will want, but it's still a really, really good result for Dean Vella. He's especially on a circuit where he just hasn't seemed like he's quite connected with it. Of course, Misano, as I said, I've said it again. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It's such a difficult circuit to get right. I think that Dean Vella has not quite been on his 100% A game. He's really had to try and work so hard to try and make those positions and be within the times that these guys have got. But yeah, chopping it now down to 5 seconds. Manduka also showing pace as well, so they're just closing on each other. But I think one little mistake can very much change the battle we're looking at, because they really just seem to be in a little bit of no man's land, especially if you're Sheldon Muscat. You've not really got anyone around you. You've got a couple of the back marker cars just ahead of you, and then you've got your nearest rival just 5 seconds down the road, which again, like I've said, in a GT race, that feels like absolute luxury, especially knowing the closeness you can get in GT racing, especially where we saw the early stages. They were battling as a 4 with Muscat, Vella, Manduka and Page, and of course the top 3 in qualifying separated by 5,000ths of a second until Adrian Manduka put in that whopper of a lap to go and book in a 33-1 and pole position. But yeah, Dean Vella really been a man on a mission. He can try and gain all he wants, but he's gaining, it just seems like a tenth a sector at this moment in time is not enough. But Muscat will be absolutely relishing in the moment from all the struggles he's had, the incidents that he's been involved in the last 2 races. He'll be absolutely gleaming with this result in a circuit he has won before in his beautiful BMW M4 GT3 that I think that he slightly misses, in fact.
He'll be beaming from ear to be able to get this victory in the Maserati GT Challenge. He currently sits 4.7 seconds ahead of Dean Vella. And yeah, as you say, he will be happy with a victory considering the campaign that he's had so far compared to his usually high expectations. And so, I mean, he'll be happy to get this one over the line. Of course, this is a relatively new car to the ACC scene, and it's just about the drivers getting used to it, and it's about what clicks. And it appears as though Sheldon Muscat has finally found that click in this car, as it's just taken him a little bit of time to adjust to. It's taken him 2 rounds, in fact, so not too long at all. But the likes of Vella and Manduka, they were able to click from minute 1, and they have been those right up the very, very top. And it's 2 different types of driver. It's those that naturally acclimatise to the car, the likes of Vella and Manduka, and the likes that have to adapt to it, the likes of Muscat. But he's so versatile, although he's lost 1.2 seconds to Dean Vella in that first sector. So I think fuel saving could be coming into effect.
It looks like he's also had a load of traffic just coming at him as well. So I think that was the battle of Chris Gatt and Gabriele Quattromani. You have a look at the gap there in the last sector, 0.08 of a second. So you can see the 2 drivers going at it, with Quattromani now looking to go at full steam ahead of Chris Gatt is towards the first couple of corners, and looking to be coming upon the battle now. That is in fact Dean Vella. So if Dean Vella can get past these guys down the straight without any hesitation or any form of hold up, then that could be a decent advantage. But again, with 7 minutes on the clock, that's not really what he's going to be looking for. He just wants to get through these nice and neatly. But if Muscat does make a mistake in the last 5 minutes, he'll be absolutely taking that and see if he can run with it. As they head their way now on towards the hairpin section. He's having to go around the outside there, Quattromani, but of course with the banking, about 5 degrees of banking on this circuit, he was able to just go and take that position away from Quattromani and lap number 444, and that gap down to what seemed to be 3.8 seconds. But I reckon with the sector time that Sheldon Muscat's just gone over, I think that may come to a decreasing number. In fact, there you go, 3.5 seconds. But again, Muscat does feel comfortable with that gap. I know I would.
Yeah, I mean, 3.5 seconds is an age if you consider, if you just think about it, if you consider it, because I mean, it will take 3.5 seconds to catch up, and they are pretty much matched. We saw in qualifying that gap at one point was 5 thousandths of a second between these top three, and so Muscat will be comfortable in his pace. He'll be comfortable in Vella's pace, although Vella now 2.7 seconds behind. He is closing, but is he closing quick enough? 5 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock. We've got some time for about 5 more laps, I reckon, and Sheldon Muscat will be hoping to hold on in this one, maybe less than 5 laps. Muscat will at least be trying to get through them as quickly as possible, although that is a given, and the number 14 will be wanting to take this victory home. He'll be trying to avoid the pressure that Vella has now found. He'll be trying to avoid the pressure that Vella is now applying, mainly due to the fact that he is now comfortable in this circuit. It's only taken him 24 laps, and he's now probably the quickest of the field once again.
Absolutely. These guys have been really at it, and it's been really impressive to see. And of course, with Sheldon Muscat's slight hold up from those batting pack here, Team Vella is really now getting that urge to push here. You can see they're now down to 2.3 seconds. Again, it's still just quite enough, and Vella will be looking at that Maserati thinking, I can go and catch it. I think that's the only way he's going to get some form of push, some sort of boost behind him, because if there was no car in front of him, I don't think he'll be pushing at this rate. I don't think he'll be seeing the same lap time that Dean Vella has been pushing with. Agent Manduka still holds the fastest lap here, down there in 3rd place, but of course he's going to have to hold a 3rd place to this one, and it looks like Team Vella just not quite comfortable there in that last sector. He's just missing something where Muscat has it absolutely nailed on, and I also think that you see that Little Angie is doing such a good job in P4 there. That 89, yes, he's only gone up 1 position the entire race, but my goodness me, he's really been a really good contender this race. He may not been able to contend with that top 4 who are a class above the rest, but he has really shown some promising pace going into potentially the next season of whatever Velocity Esports Racing will have in terms of the Intercomp Competizione competitions and championship will be coming up. Of course, make sure to follow Velocity Esports Racing on all social medias as well. You can find them on the YouTube channel, on the Twitch, on Instagram, and I'm sure LinkedIn as well. The production team very much hard at work a lot of the time, and this is why they're able to put on such brilliant productions as well. So really looking forward to seeing how this ends as well as a big shout out, of course, once again to Velocity Esports Racing.
Yeah, I mean, this is my debut with Velocity Esports Racing, and I hope it's not the last time I will appear for us, because I think it's just been a great experience, and I've not had much ACC experience before, but it's something I would certainly go back to, and that's props to the team for welcoming me in. I'm sure I know that you do a little bit more with them, but hopefully I'll be nicking your spot in the next few months to come. But hey, back to the action. 2 minutes 25 left on the clock. Muscat and Vella, the gap has stabilised. Vella and at Manduka, the gap has now started to close a little bit, but probably not enough before the end of the race. We will have 1 more full lap, and then... So I reckon we'll get 2 more laps in, essentially, before the end of the race. And that means that Sheldon Muscat has 2 laps to protect 2 seconds. The race is on.
Yeah, absolutely. The race is still technically there. It's still on the play. I think that Dean Vella just had to go that little bit much, but how much gas has he got left in the tank? And I'm not talking about fuel, I'm talking about in the body, because it takes so much. Go through a whole practice session, try and perfect a setup, then go through qualifying, and then end up in a race where you've had to close a whole 5-second lead, now down to 1.8 seconds with about a lap to go. These guys are really going to start pushing it toward the end here. Manduka will not have his say, but it's pretty much a 2-horse race with 1 horse already quite the way ahead.
Yeah, and the horse, unless he goes off circuit, and goes the wrong way. I think it will be as it is at the moment. The top three will stay the top three as we head now on to what will probably be the final lap of this one. And Sheldon Muscat will lead us through. He's had a great time today. He's been so comfortable sitting up there at the top of the standings. And he took that opportunity to break away. And he's just going to try to hold on to it. And what a fully deserved victory it would be.
Absolutely. Sheldon Muscat has really held his own amongst some of the odds against him tonight. He came into this championship with a couple of struggles. Of course, had an incident, got involved in an incident at Imola in the first opening round, the opening round of the Maserati GT2 Challenge. Of course, the one who is a serious contender, of course, with his BMW GT3 experience. It just hasn't quite translated over to this Maserati, and I think that he's been a really just on the back foot. He got involved in an incident with his BMD Sim Sports teammate, of course, Dean Vella, in the opening stages of Monza 7 days ago, but he's really come back with a big bounce in his step after putting himself on the front row of the grid. He's had a little bit of confidence, a little bit of spark of a light in the body of Sheldon Muscat, and that flame is gonna reignite again, because around the final corner and onto the main straight, the checker flag flies for Sheldon Muscat, but Dean Vella will become the Maserati GT Challenge champion. A brilliant effort from Dean Vella, 2 wins, 3 podium, and that is one way to wrap up a championship. But Sheldon Muscat, do not take this away from him. The struggles he has been through with a singular podium before coming into this round, he has topped it off with a beautiful victory. 30 points. The blue flares come out to play for the Maseratis that have been involved in all 3 rounds as Project Diversion now line up in formation, and that is a brilliant sight to see. They'll be back for the next round of Assetto Corsa Competizione action whenever that is announced. You can keep an eye on that on the Velocity Esports social medias.
Yeah, and well, that was a great sight right at the end. The 3 Aversios lining up in formation, the 2 Intercomps lining up in formation as well, and that's just really what makes a championship like this. It's the teams where they work together so well to prepare drivers for this sort of event, to prepare them to just go and tussle it out around a circuit like Monza, like Imola, and like Misano and Aversio. I'm sure they're going to be happy with their new driver.
Absolutely. Of course, a new champion, Dean Vella, of course, to add to the Maserati GT Challenge. Of course, the first season we've had this, and of course will be now down as an Assetto Corsa Competizione Challenge. Not too bad of a title to have, but of course the winner tonight, Sheldon Muscat, has been there, done that before. A big thank you to Velocity Esports Racing. Of course, we do have more things planned as well, something coming up on Gran Turismo very soon, so check that out on the social media, because those sign-ups are now out at this moment in time. You can also check out the Velocity Ultimate Masters that's going on. Last time they had a round was Mexico, a very entertaining race, and of course those guys are ultra competitive and really worth watching. This is all done in collaboration with Gaming Malta. A big thank you to Motors Inc., Intercomp, Sunshine Snacks, Survival Academy, and JACAP. A big thank you to check out the websites and the social medias of Velocity Esports Racing. Thank you so much, Joseph, for being alongside me. It's been a pleasure to have you in the commentary box. I hope we get this opportunity once again. But thank you to everyone at home that has watched this championship. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. Take care. Good night, and we'll see you for the next production by Velocity Esports Racing. Take care. Good night.